Polynesian people named it the Land of the Long White Cloud, a spectacular country molded by cataclysmic events and veiled in mystery. For centuries, New Zealand was completely isolated from other land masses. It evolved plant and animal species found nowhere else on Earth. It's a place that inspires reverence in natives and visitors alike, a reverence for the land and this country's ancient roots. New Zealand is located in the southern Pacific, more than 1,200 miles from the mainland of Australia. After landing in Auckland, we'll head to the breathtaking Bay of Islands and the towns of Paihia and Russell. Then we'll travel south to the pasture lands of Hawke's Bay. Most travelers to New Zealand arrive by air, landing here at Auckland's International Airport. Our flight from North America took about 12 hours, but it was worth it. New Zealanders, nicknamed Kiwis, are proud of Auckland, their biggest city. It's green, clean, and sophisticated. But I haven't come to New Zealand for city sights. I'm off in search of this country's best scenic beauty. We're traveling to the Northland, a part of New Zealand that's rich in Maori and European history. We arrive in Paihia, a scenic tourist town and gateway to the area known as the Bay of Islands. Some of the country's most glorious coastline can be found right here. This maritime area encompasses more than 140 islands, abundant with fish and wildlife. First on my list of activities, a kayaking trip. There's no better way to enjoy the Bay of Islands' subtropical coastline than by sea kayak. It's impossible not to linger at the spectacular Haruru Falls. Haruru means big noise, and the water here cascades over the cliff in an unusual horseshoe shape. Many species of flightless birds once thrived in New Zealand because they had no natural predators. The Maori made the most of this easy prey and hunted several bird species to near extinction. The islanders then turned to fishing and agriculture. We're stopping by New Zealand's most historic site. The Waitangi Treaty Grounds are often referred to as the birthplace of the nation. It was here that a famous treaty was signed between Maori chiefs and Britain. But because of language differences, the Maori almost certainly didn't understand the treaty's fine print, which gave great advantage to the Brits. Fighting quickly broke out between the natives and the new settlers. These grounds are considered a spiritual site by the Maori people, and certain protocols must be observed when visiting here. This challenge ceremony was traditionally performed to determine whether or not visitors came in peace. You can explore the treaty grounds by yourself or take a guided tour departing daily from the Visitors Center. In the evening, a live show about Maori history takes place in the Meeting House. The story begins with the Great Migration, a long ocean journey from eastern Polynesia to New Zealand. Frequent intertribal warfare punctuates daily life. Eventually, the ancient Maori traditions collide with European settlement. Today, the Maori people still represent about a third of the population here in the Northland. A little car ferry at the port of Opua will take us across the water to Russell. The bay is filled with motorboats, sailboats, and yachts of every description. With its charming waterfront walkway and timber houses, the town of Russell is a pleasure to stroll. But the town certainly included some unsavory characters. An early British surveyor reported that this was a vile hole full of impudent, half-drunken people. These days, though, it's an attractive fishing town with a tempting selection of restaurants, shops, and galleries. It makes a good base for exploring the area. A short drive takes us away from town to the primeval majesty of the Kauri Forest. The kauri is the largest species of tree in New Zealand. At one time, these giant trees covered the island. The size and strength of kauri timber made it a popular wood for construction and shipbuilding, particularly for masts of sailing ships. Until the 1940s, a profitable industry that exploited kauri gum severely damaged the trees here. New Zealand's forests are still trying to recover. The flora of New Zealand has a distinctive look because it evolved in isolation for millions of years. More than 3/4 of the native plants and trees grow here and nowhere else.
A day trip to the Cape Brett Lighthouse is just the thing. For those who like a challenge, you can make the journey on foot, an invigorating 8-hour hike. Or you can take an easier route, like us, and make part of the trip by water.
We climb aboard Kiwi Eco Tours for the voyage to Cape Brett. Our guide welcomes us with a traditional Maori prayer. This rugged stretch of coastline is situated at the entrance to the Bay of Islands. The 7 distinctive peaks that mark the peninsula's spine are said to represent the 7 canoes that carried the Maori settlers on their great migration to New Zealand. A place of wild beauty, the coastline is sculpted with dramatic rock formations, including the famous Hole in the Rock. Nearby Cathedral Cave lives up to its name with a grand interior and colorful rock walls. A short but steep hike takes you up to the Cape Brett Lighthouse. When British Captain James Cook first arrived here, he christened the spot in honor of a Lord of the Admiralty, Sir Percy Brett. Later, it was the site of one of New Zealand's early shipwrecks. We're off to Hawke's Bay, located on the central east coast of the North Island. This area is fondly known as the Fruit Bowl of New Zealand. It rolls out a royal carpet of pasture land, orchards, and vineyards. Acres upon acres of park-like farmland are rimmed by dramatic sea cliffs and coastal bays. The area is known for its Mediterranean-like climate, sunny, dry, and ideal for vacation getaways. Sitting handsomely on the bay, the town of Napier is a blast from the Art Deco past. Back in 1931, a horrific earthquake devastated this city, destroying most of the buildings. Art Deco's future-looking style appealed to the idealism and escapism of the 1930s Depression era. New Zealand is famous for its many luxury lodges, offering tranquil retreats in wilderness settings. Green Hill the Lodge, dating to the late 19th century, is a good example. About a half hour outside Napier, Green Hill features panoramic views of the surrounding countryside. The lodge's moment of fame came in 1958, when Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, stayed here at the homestead. While touring the country, she wanted a few days' rest and asked to stay in a home typical of early pioneering days. One of the most dramatic sights on Hawke's Bay is Cape Kidnappers. It's home to a massive colony of gannet birds. These birds usually nest on inaccessible islands, so this is a rare opportunity to get an up-close look. The birds are superb fishers, plunging into the ocean full speed ahead. New Zealand's ecological diversity and unique beauty give it an almost ethereal quality. To the Maori, it continues to be the land of the long white cloud. To adventure seekers, it's a travel dream come true. New Zealanders, nicknamed Kiwis, are proud of Auckland, their biggest city. It's green, clean, and sophisticated. But I haven't come to New Zealand for city sights. I'm off in search of this country's best scenic beauty. We're traveling to the Northland, a part of New Zealand that's rich in Maori and European history. We arrive in Paihia, a scenic tourist, and the towns of Paihia and Russell. Then we'll travel south to the pasture lands of Hawke's Bay. Most travelers to New Zealand arrive by air, landing here at Auckland's International Airport. Our flight from North America took about 12 hours, but it was worth it. The Polynesian people named it the land of the long white cloud, a spectacular country molded by cataclysmic events and veiled in mystery. For centuries, New Zealand was completely isolated from other land masses. It evolved plant and animal species found nowhere else on Earth. It's a place that inspires reverence in natives and visitors alike, a reverence for the land and this country's ancient roots. New Zealand is located in the southern Pacific, more than 1,200 miles from the mainland of Australia. After landing in Auckland, we'll head to the breathtaking Bay of Islands.